Welcome to Soul Foods. This is the interview with Michelle from Resurrected Bites. We welcome Michelle. How long has the Resurrected Bites been going? Has it been a long project? Or?
Yeah, so the first cafe opened in January 2018 at St Mark's Church. It's been operating in Grosvenor Street since January 2020.
Did COVID make a big difference to what you do? Yeah.
So in the run-up to COVID, we'd got 3 cafes open, and one was here at Grosvenor Street. Obviously, once we saw the pandemic was coming, we closed the cafes before the lockdown. And we knew there'd be a huge amount of food waste because all the shops were on overdrive with ordering because people were panic buying. And then when the lockdown came, they couldn't get the people through the shops quickly enough. So St Mark's Church had closed, so we basically just filled it with all the food that was going to get thrown out from shops and retailers. And we started to do a free home delivery service. So within 2 days, we'd switched from being a cafe to a free home delivery service. Got an amazing number of people who came forward to volunteer, some of whom are still volunteering with us now. And they would deliver basically whatever people wanted. My son built a shopping portal so that people could go online and choose what they wanted. We didn't just want to give a generic box of stuff. We wanted people to have what they wanted and what they liked. And we did non-food items as well, so that basically they could get everything they wanted to enable them not to have to go out into the shops. Initially, it wasn't just people who you would normally think would be in food poverty. We were delivering to £2 million houses in some cases because people had lost their income overnight and had massive outgoings. And there was also a lot of elderly people who were terrified of obviously going out, and the likes of Sainsbury's, etc., weren't set up for food deliveries in the way they are these days. So our team were the ones that were first off the ground to get people food. And then over the next few months, it started to become the people who were genuinely in food poverty, and we were delivering across Harrogate district. So within the 17 months we were doing that, we fed the equivalent of 15,808 people with 3 to 7 days worth of food and non-food items. So yeah, it was a huge eye opener to the scale of food poverty in the area, and we didn't want to carry on doing the free home delivery service forever, because giving things out for free is not always the best thing for people, but also delivering to them is not always the best thing for them because people were becoming very fearful about leaving the house. So we wanted to set up a model that would enable people to come and get low cost groceries and have community again and meet people and have that connection again. So we set up community groceries. So this was in autumn 2021. We got the cafes back open, the 3 cafes, and then we also got 2 community groceries open. So we've got one in Harrogate and one in Grosvenor Street as well. And they're not a food bank. They are. The difference is that we charge a low price, and that's not just about bringing a bit of income in. It's also about giving people dignity. Harrogate's a really difficult place to be poor, and people often say that they're too embarrassed to go to a food bank, but because it's a social supermarket and they pay something towards it, they feel that they can come and use our service. They also get to choose what they take. They come in, they do a shop, they have a shopping basket, and it is like a shopping experience. We've got a brilliant team who are really, very supportive and help people to find what they need. And if we've got people who've got anxiety issues or physical disabilities, that means it's a bit more difficult for them. Our team will help them with their shopping, and then they get a set number of items from each category. So they get chilled and frozen, they get fresh food, like fresh fruit and veg, bakery items. They get non-food items so they can still feed their pets and wash their clothes and put nappies on their babies. They get store cupboard items as well. So we are predominantly about food waste. We are so every week 2.15 metric tons of food goes back out of our warehouse, and that food would have gone into landfill otherwise or into anaerobic digestion. So it's a massive environmental issue which we're tackling but also enables us to feed people. So through the groceries, all the fresh products are stuff is generally that we've intercepted, but the stuff that's on the shelf, like the non-food items and the store cupboard items, a lot of that we have to buy in. We also run community cafes. So the cafes are very much focused on food waste, again, because it's a massive environmental issue. But also it means that because they're on a pay-as-you-feel basis, we have the cafes open to everybody and we really encourage everybody to come. It's not, people have this common misconception, they're just for people in food poverty, and they're not. They offer everybody, and we need everybody to come because we need people who can afford to donate, to put money in, to help cover the costs for those who can't. And they, the thing, well, there's many things I love about it. One is that it enables us to help people without them feeling like they're receiving charity. So we have a lot of people who are lonely and isolated or bereaved or in food poverty who wouldn't normally be able to go to a conventional cafe, or wouldn't feel comfortable going to a conventional cafe because they'd be on their own. Whereas because it's a community cafe, and there was an example a few weeks ago, a lady came to me and said she'd recently moved to the area, she was bereaved, she was very lonely, people kept telling her she needed grief counselling, and she said, I just needed to come to this place because I knew I'd be able to talk to people. She said, I couldn't do that in Starbucks because people would think it was weird if I just joined their table, but she said, I just needed to talk to somebody to talk to process my grief. I didn't want to go through counselling, I just needed to talk to people. And it meets a lot of need in the fact that we have a brilliant team again who are all the team pretty much know all the regulars. We run them once a week in different locations so that people have got to know each other through that. So now they all travel around the different cafes together because they've made those friendships. And the other thing I love about the model is we have people with about 2 pennies to rub together, sitting talking to people who've got money. And so the one at St Wilfrid's in Harrogate, which is in the Duchy, which is obviously a very well-to-do area, we have people who are clearly homeless coming in and sitting talking to people who clearly have got money. And I love that aspect of it, that we get the opportunity for people to talk to each other who never would normally cross paths, and to get to see life from each other's perspective. And each cafe has a pop-up shop as well, so people can take food home with them as well.
So how many places would you say you've got at the moment working?
So we've got 3 cafes. So one in Harrogate on a Wednesday, one in Killinghall on a Thursday at Killinghall Methodist Church, and obviously this one on a Friday at Gracious Street Methodist Church. They're all open 10 till 2. The reason I run them in churches is because it's a fantastic missional opportunity for the church. We want to encourage church members to come in to use the cafes and to get to know the customers who don't normally come to the church, and for them to see that they're just normal people. There's nothing scary about them just because they're Christians, and to invite them to church and to come, to encourage them to come and find out what faith is about. And then we've got 2 groceries, one in Harrogate at New Park School, and then the one here in Gracious Street.
Right. How long do you feel that there will be a need for it? Is it going to go on forever, or? It's not necessarily political either, is it? Because it doesn't matter what party he's in. It's just people need food.
So there's various elements. So one is obviously the food waste element of it, and as long as there's food waste, we need to find a way for it to be used up. So it's that has been, since we started in 2018. Businesses are doing a lot better on tackling their food waste, which is more of a challenge for us because there's less food for us to intercept. But it's great from an environmental perspective that businesses are doing it, for the optics of being an organisation that doesn't waste food, but also because of the costs involved with wasting food. But as you say, there are also the other objectives that we're trying to meet with loneliness. I can't see that's going to improve. It seems to be getting worse, especially with social media and things like the pandemic, and people's anxiety has gone up about going out and meeting people. So, we're trying to think of ways that we can galvanise people to come together at cafes, whether it's running a book club and things like that, just something to get them interested in coming in. And then the food poverty side of things, cost of living crisis certainly doesn't look like it's going to go away in the near future, and I would say that's the main reason people are using our services. people often think it's people on benefits that are going to be using our groceries, and that's not always the
Yeah,
case. We have
yeah.
people, there's one lady I can think of who was running through, doing 3 jobs to try, and she just had a series of awful things that happened to her that had meant that she completely wiped out all her savings. She was in a rented
Yeah.
house, rents in the area are very
Yeah.
high,
Mhm.
or things like suddenly being told by the landlord that they've got, which is happening a lot at the moment, being told they've got to move, so then they've got to find the bond, they've got to find a new place, all
Yeah.
this extra income they need to suddenly find in a short space of time. There are many reasons why people need to use us, and I would be very surprised if we weren't needed for a long time yet, sadly.
Yes, right. Yeah, thank you. So there's 2 more things I want to ask. First is, what would you like for prayer?
Mm-hmm.
Prayer need. It's sort of 3 things perhaps we'd like,
Yeah.
and also what people could do to help if they, can you just say that? And
Absolutely.
then,
So
thank you.
prayer points, which are pretty much consistent. So protection, obviously, we get the enemy's attention because we're doing all this in the name of Jesus, and so it's been a really turbulent few years. There's been so many different things where I felt like we're under a spiritual attack, and times when I've really been asking God whether He really wants me to continue with this. But thankfully we have stuck it out, and we're getting to be in a more stable position. But still, things happen. Like last week, our Instagram account got hacked, which doesn't seem like a major issue, but they've cloned our account. There's a closed account that looks like us now, which I can't see what they're doing. They could be fundraising in our name. They could be scamming people in our name. I just don't know. So I've had to report that to the Charity Commission as a serious incident. It's just things like that are very distracting, take an awful lot of time that you don't have, and and just those little things that can keep coming at you. And we've had a lot of issues with making sure that we've got a stable team to run things. So it's been a really, really difficult time. So please pray for protection over us, pray for provision for us. We run on a shoestring, but we still have a minimum of £7,000 deficit every month that I have to raise through fundraising and grants. So that's really challenging. So prayers for, as I say, provision that the grants that I'm writing will get funded, that the fundraisers we run will be successful, and that we will find a way to be sustainable without having to rely on grants, because grants are becoming increasingly more difficult to get. A lot of grant makers are stopping. Plus, the fact that a lot more charities running because there's so many crises going on. So there's a lot more people going for the pots of money. Every day I get a bulletin from the third sector about another charity that's gone down, another charity that's gone down. It's just endless. You can just see the negativity of, how difficult it is to keep going. And the third thing is for people that do use our services to come to know Jesus if they don't know Him yet, or to develop a deeper relationship with Him. Because at the end of the day, He's providing all of this. He's at the centre of what we do, and we want to make sure that people know that. And so, to answer your question about what people can do for the church, we'd love, as I said, church members to come along to our cafes, to talk to the people that are here, to share their faith with them if they feel comfortable about doing that, and to invite them to church or to church events, just to help bring them into the church community.
Thank you very much, so much, Michelle, for your time. Thank you. Brilliant. Wonderful.
Thank you.